The first crack in the room isn't the mic feedback or the clink of glasses. It's the way the DJ kills the bass mid-beat and lifts his finger toward me like a conductor inviting a soloist. I'm not on the program. I'm not even on the printed place cards that glitter like tiny sails across the rooftop tables. The wind coming off the Arabian Sea smells like salt and solder. The hotel's neon trims the horizon in a sterile blue. And my husband Dasher stands center. Shirt crisp, smile turned outward. One hand around a champagne flute and the other round his sister's shoulders as if this is the family portrait the night waited for. He clears his throat, says something about gratitude, about the people who raised him and the partners who believed. The champagne in my glass is warm because nobody thought to refill mine when they refilled his. My name has not been spoken. The waiters look past me as if I'm a column holding up the sky. The DJ cuts the music for me only because the manager asked him to keep the mic floating. It drifts toward my side of the room, the cable and umbilical across the floor. I don't take it yet. The rooftop air is a soft oven door. The birthday cake on a floating glass plinth has sugar roses tall as thumbs and a plaque that reads, "To the sun." The brother, the leader. There's a narrow plate where a missing place card would be beside Asher. A thin gap in the symmetry of the top table, like a tooth knocked clean out and the tongue not knowing where to rest. I feel it press into me. The stage managing someone did as if I hadn't been married into this family. Hadn't signed the lease and the guarantees. Hadn't kept the invoices stacked and the taxes filed, and the late nights walked home in flat shoes with receipts under my arm. My heartbeat clicks at the base of my throat, a metronome I can use. I was a forensic auditor before I became the wife. No one introduces a cartographer of small lies. The kind who knows that the most dangerous entries hide in the footnotes, not the headline balance. I slide 2 fingers along the sash of my dress, where I keep my phone and a thin silver pen engraved with my initials, a gift I bought myself. Asher is raising his glass. It's a perfect photograph. People at the edge of the rooftop lean to capture it, and the night leans with them. The lights of boats bobbing below like clauses waiting to be sighted. Seems I'm not family. The sentence is a breath, not a speech. Someone hears it and turns. The DJ hears it and lifts the volume down another notch. The sea catches it and tosses it back to me. In the next minutes, you'll see how a woman can walk through a room like this, my husband's rooftop birthday. Our friends and his partners and the aunties with henad, fingertips to reclaim. Her own name from a toast that left her invisible. You'll see how a signature line can become a lever and how silence can be filed, stamped, and served back to the people who built it. And you'll see why I kept a sealed envelope in my clutch tonight. Heavy with photocopies that smell faintly of toner and cold iron. The first mystery rests near the edge of the cake. A small brass key sits on a saucer that should hold nothing except a match to light the sparklers later. Nobody notices it yet. The second mystery is the way Asher's sister, Nita, curls 3 fingers around her flute and taps a private rhythm on the stem that I've heard only when she lies. It's a little syncopated tremor, a habit she thinks is charming, but tells me her mouth is about to draft fiction. The tables are laid in horseshoe formation around the glass dance floor. I'm at the Hinge, at a table with 2 women from the charity board where I volunteer, and a man whose tie clip advertises the bank where Asher keeps an account he pretends is closed. The wind picks up. Votives quiver. A child at the far table grabs at a balloon string and loses it. The balloon vaulting into the dark like a no further comments. Your Honor. My skin tastes like a faint line of salt. The back of my neck is damp and the mic's foam windscreen smells like old citrus and metal when the DJ finally brings it to me because the manager murmured that I should get a chance. He knows me. Imran, the manager, has escorted me through fire inspections and curfew checks. He's watched me drag a drunk cousin into a taxi and tip the driver in exact denominations. He knows I am the person who pays on time and reads all clauses. I'll be brief, I say. The mic makes me sound older. I set my glass down. The condensation ring leaves a perfect circle on the linen, a watermark I could audit for 6 meanings. It's your birthday, Asher. We should be celebrating the truth. Small sounds answer, a fork's shocked breath on porcelain. Raza, his business partner, exhaling in a way that says he doesn't like narrative, he likes ledgers that obey him. Nita's chin rises half a centimeter, that tremor tapping code on crystal. Before the toast upstairs, downstairs was a different temperature. At 6 p.m., the kitchen smelled of coriander and butter. I stood by the service lift with a bouquet. The flowers were peonies that couldn't bear Karachi humidity. Their hearts already overripe, and I used the service lift because I didn't want to be seen yet. The bouquet sat in a ceramic jug I'd bought at Sunday Bazaar with coins from a pocket I keep hidden even from myself. I had dropped an envelope with the concierge at our apartment earlier that day. A blue one addressed to myself that would be time-stamped and recorded by the building's desk, because I asked for the logging book and wrote in it in the neatest hand. The envelope held copies. Our Nikanama I had countersigned and had notarized again, redundant but satisfying. Asher's partnership deed with Roz's boutique investment company. The addendum to the charity pledge that gave me unilateral audit rights on a small scholarship fund. And a letter from Amina Shirazi, my lawyer. That used the word rescind in 3 places like a chorus. In my phone were screenshots of transfer confirmations and reversal emails with headers, tracking numbers, and bank logs with the name of a junior teller I had met once and liked because he lined up his pens toward east like a prayer. What's not here tonight is my place card. I noticed it missing when the early guests gathered, when the staff walked out to show us the centerpieces. And I saw a blank rectangle where my name should sit. Imran saw it too and pinched his face apologetically. "Printing error," he said. "We have your table, do we?" I asked, lifting the corner of the card and feeling the grit of cut paper under my nail. "We'll see." I stood still beside the DJ booth then, listening. Stillness is a habit from auditing. The hum of the aircon on the stairwell landing was a long throat clearing. A waiter practiced singing under his breath, only vowel sounds. Somewhere to my right, 2 aunties argued in low tones over who should get the center seat. Because back's trouble meant the right angle to the breeze mattered. The mic stand was cool in my hand, textured with scratches from 100 other nights. I asked Imran to keep one channel open for me. He said that's not protocol, and I said I'd like it anyway. And he complied because tonight I paid for 45% of the bill with a card, linked to a reserve account that the family didn't track. Not because I'm hiding. Because I know what generosity gets annoyed by if you put it on paper. I told Imran if there's a problem with the family place cards, don't worry. I'm patient. Then Asher arrived late enough to be important. He'd texted me an hour prior, running with Raza, last-minute change to the cake. He put his hand on the small of my back on the way up to the roof. Not because he meant anything by it, but because he knows the cameras catch affectionate choreography. He smelled like a small, thin cologne I bought, but more strongly of an unfamiliar tobacco. He had new cufflinks. He didn't introduce me to the photographer. He did hug Nita loudly and tapped Raza's shoulder twice in that mail code for cash flow's good. Instead of me, he stood near his mother and let her claim the first smile. I parked myself at the hinge table and said good evening to the woman from the charity board, who asked if I got her email about the scholarship guidelines. I said yes, and that I had replied, hadn't she seen my Redland doc? She said she hadn't opened her laptop. I logged that as Loop 1, a document not opened by someone who would later claim to have been in the know. Loop 2 was the missing place card. Loop 3 happened when I tried to call my neighbor Samina to ask if she'd left the kids' science fair award certificate at my door. Like she promised there was a folder-sized space on the kitchen counter where an envelope should be. And I didn't want to leave it unguarded overnight. My phone showed her saved as V. A letter I use only when I don't want anyone, including me, to know who a person is. I hadn't saved Samina as V. My stomach cooled. If someone had held my phone today, I wanted to know who and why. The light on the screen reflected a ceiling sconce, pale gold in a shallow bowl. And I could smell the oxidized edge of the railing in the breeze. Loop 4 was a locked drawer. In the morning, I had gone to retrieve a notebook from Asher's desk and found the small desk drawer locked. A cheap lock he's always been theatrical about keys on, the tiny brass key missing from its usual hook. He had teased me once that his secrets were kindergarten level. But I had learned that even a childish lock can keep honest hands from touching a boundary when they should. I hadn't asked him. I'd made a copy of the key months ago. It wasn't in my purse. That key, or its twin, now sat on a saucer by the cake a dare. Loop 5'll call it the script was a phrase. I heard 3 times through the chit-chat she supports from the background. Nita used it like a throw pillow in conversation, tossing it on to me whenever someone asked what I do. She said it to the banker when he inquired if I was at the firm with Asher. She said it to the aunties when they asked if we were planning a larger family. She supports from the background. The phrase tried to put me in the wings of my own life. I filed it, wrote the time, 7:52 p.m., 8:10 p.m., 8:31 p.m. And a note. Origin Nita. I have always been clear on thresholds. I don't cross until I intend to continue through. At 8:45, when the sea went from gasoline blue to ink, Imran lifted his chin at the DJ and the bass rolled like a sheet, unspooling. The cake was rolled out. The sparklers were set like small fuses. The guests lifted their phones. The photographer's flash bracket pulsed. Asher lifted his glass. He thanked his mother, his father, his sister, his partner, Raza. He thanked the school friends who'd flown in. He thanked the bank for believing in our venture and gave the banker's tie clip a nod. I braced for my name. It didn't arrive. I have been forgotten in public spaces before. I took my time tonight because I could afford patience. Inside my clutch, the envelope warmed against my palm like a concealed engine. I had, over the last 2 weeks, used my audit rights on the Charity Scholarship Fund to review a few donations that flowed through Asher's company. In that process, I found a routing number I didn't recognize connected to an entity. An account titled AR Consulting Holdings. The ledger showed small transfers that added up. Some reversed. Some corrected. I didn't flare like dry brush. I took screenshots. I downloaded bank logs. I walked into Mr. Qureshi's branch on Tariq Road and asked, as an authorized signatory on the scholarship fund, to see the origin of incoming funds that touched restricted accounts. He complied, not because I am charming, but because I had the letter from the charities board countersigned by the chair, Mrs. D'Souza. That cited our right to request compliance audit materials for any transactions tied to our fund disbursements. We're careful about commingling, I said. He nodded. He printed logs, dates, times, wire IDs. The logs showed Raza's company sending money that looked like donations. Through a short corridor account on Mondays at 9:37 a.m., they pinged the scholarship account at 9:42 and reversed at 9:58. Leaving a residue. The grant looked funded on paper for 16 minutes. People sometimes test the pipes, Mr. Qureshi said. Then what? I asked. If they reverse inside a window, some reconciliations reflect a temporary balance. I said, show me the reconciliation reports for the weeks in question. He did because the reports were attached to the logs. His printer was gentle, squeak squeak, like a small animal in a cupboard. I took the stack and I signed a receipt that listed the number of pages. He affixed a rubber band and the smell of fresh toner swam up. I walked the pages straight to Amina, my lawyer, who wore a navy shalwar and had a habit of pushing her glasses up her nose with 2 fingers like a chess move. It can be sloppy, she said, flipping. It can also be deliberate. What is it here? I asked. Both, she said. We don't need intent yet. We need process. We file a notice to the charity board that certain transfers must be frozen pending clarification. We send an inquiry to Raza's firm with the wire IDs. We certify receipt of the logs and record that the charity did not authorize float representation. And we prepare, if necessary, to rescind the pledge letter to Asher's company and to enjoin any use of the scholarship name in their marketing. Will you draft? I said, and she said already in motion. And my phone buzzed with a PDF in the subject line. Notice of freeze, scholarship disbursements. I forwarded it to the board and CC'd Mr. Qureshi and BCC'd myself. I wrote 3 sentences in my neatest voice. I used words like time-stamped and recorded and audited and complied. The next morning, Mrs. D'Souza called me. "We appreciate your vigilance," she said. "This is why we asked you to join." The room at my flat smelled like yesterday's cardamom. The light off the counter reflected a thin line of aluminum. "We'll stand behind you," she said. "So tonight, when the toast floats into air without me, I am not empty-handed. I take the mic. I don't shout. I don't have to. To the truth, I say, and the guests cheer because it's a safe word. To clean books and clear names. 2 birthdays that make men braver than they were yesterday. Asher stares like I just mispronounced a simple word. Raza shifts his weight and claps 3 times, a rhythm for dismissing women. Nita smiles so wide I can see the fillings she never replaced. I keep the mic, not speaking longer than a line at a time, letting the waiters pour, letting the silence come back like a tide. When I met Asher, I say, he told me he loved the way I ask follow-ups. It made his life easier, he said. It protected him. He told me I made a home out of lists. He told me I was family the day his credit card got declined, and I said, we'll solve it. I believed him. The sea is a wet ribbon. The strings of lights above the dance floor burn like little laws we invented tonight. Again, some clapping. Cough. The child with the balloon gone now sits with a second, smaller balloon, holding tight. I saw transfers touching accounts they shouldn't have. And reversals recorded inside windows that made balances look better than they are. I filed notices. I asked for logs. I certified and time-stamped receipt. Our banker complied. Our board complied. Our attorney cited, escalated, and prepared. We're in good hands. You're making a scene, Nita whispers. Her tremor increases, a tap-tap-tap that makes her flute ring. I'm making a record, I say. You should know the origin. We married quiet in a small room with walls that needed repainting. The Malvi's voice was so soft the fans swallowed it. I brought my competence like an offering. Asher brought dreams that needed scaffolding. He had an eye for design and a hunger, and I loved him once as if love could audit hunger into something safe. Red flags were small, a joke about my spreadsheets as foreplay. A wince when my name appeared on a contract. A habit of shaving dates off invoices as if the past could be trimmed to fit a present. When we bought the flat, I signed jointly on the mortgage because I can do math. He told me that made me a hero. Later, he told friends at a dinner that I support from the background. I smiled then because I thought places of power are sometimes behind the curtain. Someone has to manage the ropes. The night we got our first furniture delivered, the wood smelled like a pamphlet in a museum gift shop, pressed and polished hand. Asher pressed his thumb into the edge of the table like he could leave a private signature. He couldn't. That bothered him more than I understood. We crossed a threshold when Raza entered. He had a dress shirt, always in search of the right gym, a laugh that didn't need jokes, and a pitch. Boutique consulting, light capital, heavy networks. He liked meetings where he hosted on rooftops and talked about flows instead of payments. He had a way of saying numbers like they were recommendations. He promised Asher partner on day 2. Asher came home lit up with that particular neon of inclusion that men give other men when they let them carry certain briefcases. I asked for partnership papers. It's informal, Asher said. We'll document later. Document now? I said. He kissed my forehead like I was old. Then he brought a deed 2 weeks later with my name on the witness line and Raza's signature in ink to wet. I conjugated the verbs. Executed, witnessed, recorded. I took a photo of the deed on our kitchen counter with a spoon nearby for scale. The spoon reflecting the pendant light like a tiny moon. That deed became one of my quiet assets. Another, a copy of Asher's ID I notarized when our building demanded it. A third, the scholarship pledge letter he begged me to sign as a joint pledge because donors behave when wives appear on letterhead. I insisted on an audit clause. He wrote, of course, with a flourish that left a scratch behind in the paper I could feel later with my fingertip. Later, I would feel similar scratches at my throat when he declined to mention my name in rooms where I had guaranteed delivery. Last week, while he was in Lahore for a pitch, Raza texted me to ask for help drafting language for a vendor negotiation. "You're the words," he wrote. I sent him a template. He sent me back a photo of a contract with a clause added that allowed a float window. "Remove this," I replied. "It invites misuse." He wrote back a laugh and a "don't be dramatic." I filed his message in a folder titled Patterns. The day before the party, I picked up our dry cleaning and found a receipt that included a charge for altering the Flesser's suit coat, the one he wore tonight. I believe in drift, the way small moves accumulate into direction. I believe in the way things smell when they mean to be disguised. The line on the dry cleaning receipt smelled like starch and evasions. I phoned Billa, an IT forensics consultant I sometimes hire on charity matters when we need metadata. He's younger than me, always polite, and saved in my phone under his own name. If I needed a copy of a phone's recent CN texts, app usage, newly added contacts, and the owner consented. "What would you need?" "Owner consent," he said, straightforward and dry. "Right?" I said. "For now, if a contact name changes unexpectedly, what could cause that?" "Sloppy hands," he said. "Or a pocket. Or someone thinking they're clever." I checked my phone. The light was a cool triangle on the screen. Samina's contact remained V. I thought of my locked desk drawer and the missing key. I put my pen beside my cheek and let the cold metal wake the skin. Back upstairs now, the sparklers are waiting unlit. A waiter flirts with the girl by the railing via the tilt of a water jug. The city widens in concentric circles of traffic noise. I can smell frosting, sugar sweet and oil rich, a smell that always was too much to be nice. I switch the mic to my other hand because the foam is making my fingers smell metallic. "This is not an accusation," I say. "This is notice." Raza laughs an actual laugh then. "Come on," he says, taking 2 steps into the open as if he's been invited to dance. "Notices are for offices. This is a party." "Both can be true," I say. Imran watches from the edge. I see his hand near the cut switch and shake my head. He lowers it like a promise. The DJ fidgets with a knob that doesn't do anything. The waiter refills my glass and I don't drink. "Let me speak," Asher says then, stepping into the center. He touches my elbow. "Zara, this isn't the time." "When would be?" I ask. "When your mother reads the paper that says the pledge was rescinded? When the board freezes your ability to use our scholarship's name in the next campaign? When Mr. Qureshi calls you Monday to ask why a woman had to file an escalated compliance query to keep your reports honest?" "You're embarrassing yourself," Nita says, flat. I turn to her with the simple kindness I reserve for people who confuse mess with warmth. "I am correcting the record," I say. "And I have a gift for the birthday boy." I hold out the envelope. It's heavy. The top flap is crusted from the damp of the evening. Asher takes it automatically because that's what men do when paper is offered. He opens it. The first page is the letter from Amina, headed with her crisp letterhead. Addressed to him, care of his company, and to Raza, care of the boutique. It cites dates and wire IDs and uses the phrase suspension pending clarification 3 times. The second page is a screenshot print. A wire confirmation with a transaction number, like a barcode on a thin ankle. The third is the pledge letter with my signature and a large diagonal stamp in red. Rescinded. The fourth is a copy of the partnership deed with a sticky note. My handwriting, Clause 7C, audit writes in the event of reputational harm. He shuffles a game in a child's hands. "Where did you?" he starts. "In our home," I say. "In our bank. In the board I serve. In the faith you placed in my competence and withdrew in public." Raza steps and says, "This is a misunderstanding. Float windows are standard. The charity received full value and the reversals made it look like value when it wasn't." "It's good," I say, not letting him finish. "And as of 4:12 p.m. today, Mr. Qureshi confirmed the charity account has a freeze code until the board is satisfied. Your Monday transfers will bounce. Record this. Wire reversal attempts will be audited. Your deed allows me to open your books solely to the degree they intersect with commitments, signed jointly. That degree is non-zero." Someone at the banker's table clears his throat as if choking on a seed. I turn to him. "You know me?" You watched me sign a rental guarantee on the annex when I didn't have to. You know I don't bluff. This is not a performance. This is simple procedure. The city shifts in my periphery. I feel the rooftop resize, the way people pull their chairs closer or further, the way eye lines reorient like compass needles. The room's temperature drops a degree because power has rerouted and everyone knows it with their skin first. The cake, frosting, sweats, tiny beads like pores opening across the sugar. The brass key on its saucer winks. As for the locked drawer, I say, letting my gaze slide to Asher's pocket, the suit coat tailored recently. You've always loved props. Let's empty our pockets. We're not children, he says. Exactly, I say. He lifts his chin and doesn't move his hands. I turn my head toward the saucer, walk to it, pick up the tiny brass key. It's heavier than it looks, edge-nicked where someone rushed it into a lock. I hold it up. You left this out like confetti. I like clarity. If it's a key to the desk drawer, then you don't need it here. If it's to something else, I pause. Let the sentence step down on its own weight. Let's find out. His silence breaks before he can shape it. It's silly Nita asked for don't. I say soft. Just don't. Raza, being the kind of man who wants to be seen as brave in the wrong moments, takes the hero step. Let me check if the kitchen is ready to bring the cake, says into the space of the conversation, and tries to pivot the party back into its shallow happiness. Imran doesn't move. The DJ pretends to touch a knob. The night holds itself still. If you were here, you would hear the air pull, the slow exhale of a room waiting. I offer the envelope to Asher again. Read the last page, I say. It's the addendum with the audit clause I told you about when you asked me to sign the pledge. You said, of course, like it was a song. It says that in case of harm to the charity's reputation, any signatory can invoke audit rights on connected entities, including, but not limited to, vendors, holding firms, and partners materially connected to the pledge. It was countersigned by you and witnessed. Nita folds her arms. This is insane, she says. You're ruining his birthday. I look at her shoes. They're tight. That small tell delights me in a mean way I forgive myself for later. What ruined it, I say, was something else. I tilt my head. You said I support from the background 3 times. She shrugs. It's the truth. It's a script, I say. You built it because it's useful to you. It makes it easier to keep your brother centered and your access to him clean. I smile, and it's not sweet. I don't mind the background. I mind erasure. And I mind misuse. Asher looks older under the lights. He looks, finally, at me, rather than at the shape of me among his guests. Zara, he says. We can talk. We are, I say. But talk is not the only instrument. I nod at Imran. He nods at the DJ, who kills the music for real. The city noise rushes in. Somewhere below, a motorcycle revs. A siren sighs in the distance, like someone's tired elder. This is the public part, I say. Because tonight, you made this public. You turned it into a stage. The private parts were careful the letters filed, the freezes executed, the notices served. The rest can be handled with mercy. But tonight belongs to procedure. I love the feeling of a paper landing, the way its weight is small, but its travel is immense. I put the envelope on the cake table where everyone can see it. We'll cut your cake, I say. We'll sing if you like. Afterwards, you and I will leave separately. You will go with your sister and Raza to your office. You will open your desk. You will allow me and Amina and Mr. Qureshi, if he wishes, to witness the unlocking of documents tied to partnership deeds. If there are personal letters, we will respect their privacy. If there are partnership papers, we will inventory and record. You will not remove any files until then. You will surrender your key to the concierge downstairs for safekeeping. He will log it, and I will countersign the log. This is not aggression. This is stewardship. Raza says, we don't answer to your wife. You answer to the deed you signed, I say, and to the donation letter that used the scholarship's good name to secure introductions, and to the bank that will be embarrassed if this gets messy, so it will not. It will be clean. That is my gift. It's a quiet gift, Justice. It doesn't arrive wrapped. It arrives in registry offices and counters and the backs of restaurants, where managers keep binders with last year's menus in case of audit. It arrives in the stoop of a banker's shoulders when he realizes his junior facilitated slippage and he must call me Monday. It arrives in a sister's hand trembling too much to tap her flute because she doesn't have a script left. It arrives in a husband's mouth searching for language that doesn't cast him as a boy. Imran starts the singing because someone has to. People laugh tremulously and join in. It's absurd and kind of beautiful. A group of adults singing to a man who understands his night has been resized. Singing on a roof where a brass key glints under sugar light. Asher blows out the candles. He makes a silent wish that in another life had a $sign in it. Tonight, I think it is different. He takes the knife and looks at me. I nod. He cuts. After a while plates move and forks scrape and people assemble their exit lines, I step aside to drink water. The tumbler sweats. The glass in my hand is cool. The night wind is softer now, a little healing. Samina texts me, "Sorry, missed your call. The science fair envelope is under your mat." My contact for her is back to normal. Her name, not V. I stare a second too long and then breathe. I walk to the rail, look down at the city's mesh. The smell of sea mixes with diesel. The waiters dump melted ice into a slop bucket. The splash echoes a little. I feel the outline of my pen in my dress, my initials. A quiet joke against my skin. We leave exactly as I said we would. Amina is already waiting downstairs in a car that smells like lavender from a sachet her mother makes. She hands me a thermos lid of tea and I drink. Asher rides with Nida and Raza. Faces set their car a shadow that keeps pace. Imran walks me to the elevator and says in a low voice, "You're a good one." I say I'm an auditor. We smile like we know both can be true. The building concierge downstairs straightens when he sees me. He is a man who loves logs. I love him for it. "Good evening," he says. "We have a registered envelope for you, time-stamped for 16 p.m. He slides the ledger to me. I sign my name and the exact time in the small square. The envelope is my own, a test of the system I rely on. I take it and ask if he will receive a key for safekeeping from my husband. He says, "Of course, madame. I will log it." At the office, the lock gives way to the twin of the party key. Inside the drawer are partnership notes, vendor lists, a second phone I didn't know about, and a set of place cards printed on heavy cream. I pick up the card that should have been mine. The font is the same as the others. The ink is slightly lighter. The cut is a whisper off. It reads Zebra, not Zara, a private joke from childhood that only Asher's family uses to tease. I feel the paper's tooth. I breathe in the smell of dry, starchy pulp. Something in my chest both breaks and repairs. I set the card down. I nod at Amina, who lifts her phone and documents the drawer. Time-stamped. Angle noted. Witness list recorded. Mr. Caresi, who joined unasked because bankers dislike being taken by surprise, stands with hands in pockets like he'd rather not have hands. He says, "Let's proceed." We proceed. It's unglamorous. It's measured. Raza tries 3 times to say the word misunderstanding and 3 times finds himself looking at the deed and clause 7C, which looks back at him like a mirror in a well-lit room. Asher says 2 or 3 small things that make Nita's mouth flatten. You don't need to know them because they're domestic and they belong to our diaspora of unhealed siblings. But he doesn't say the big thing yet. We inventory, we record, we photograph. Billa arrives when called, wears shoe covers without being asked, and copies the second phone's device, logs on to an encrypted drive that makes no sound while writing. He writes a receipt. I sign, he signs, Amina countersigns. We label everything. We put the key in the concierge's hands and he logs it. We've witnessed his signature. We ask him if he'd like chai. He declines. Days ripple outward from that night like circles in oil. On Monday, the bank calls. The scholarship board circulates an internal memo-redacted names. Full timelines that becomes our gentle firewall against gossip. Vendors receive emails citing clause numbers and pause their sprints. The charity posts a short prestige comm note. We have updated our compliance policy. We have improved our audit windows. We thank our partners for their continued trust. Quietly, 2 donors ask to meet me. I meet them at noon in a coffee shop that smells like over-roasted beans and printer ink. We speak softly. We talk about spectra, how good people get pulled sideways, how easy it is to stand still and be complicit, how satisfying it is to write a check and outsource vigilance. We agree to a quarterly review cadence. I draft it. We adopt it. I file it. I watch the secretary stamp it with a circular stamp that leaves a clean blue bruise on the signature line. At home, Asher packs a small bag. He doesn't leave. He goes to the guest room with a window that sweats in winter and whispers in summer. He puts his cufflinks in a teacup on the windowsill, this small ritual of a boy pretending at a movie. I let the teacup be. We speak at low volumes in the kitchen while the kettle breathes. He says he's sorry and not sorry both, a technicality. He says he felt small under his mother's measuring eye. He says Raza made him feel large. He says he forgot in the flood which skills in the room could keep him real, and which ones could make him unreal for a while longer. He says he didn't notice the place card because Nita handles these things and his job is to show up and shine. He says he doesn't want to be a defendant on a rooftop again. He says he doesn't know why he didn't say my name when he was saying names. I hand him a dish towel and he dries a mug like a penitent in a simple parable. We set up rules on paper because paper respects what people struggle to remember. I draft a letter to the building, codes revoked, keys surrendered, central bank locker inventory scheduled. I notify the charity Asher is suspended from any representation until the audit is complete. He accepts these conditions not because he is noble, but because he understands he hasn't got a better road. I confiscate the second phone because Amina says to, and the law agrees. I don't read its messages. I have them sealed. Mercy is a decision you couch in procedure, so it isn't personal. Nita posts an Instagram story of a sunset over a city that is not ours with a caption about wolves. She texts me a week later to ask for a recipe I make, as if that restores a world. I send her the recipe without salt. She can add it herself. Raza sends a formal letter disclaiming any intent to deceive, couched in adjectives like regrettable and unintentional. He's good at empty politeness. The regulator asks for a meeting. He takes his lawyer. He leaves using the service exit when he's done. His laugh is strange without music. Mr. Qureshi switches branches. I hear this through the staff rumor vine that runs like copper under Karachi's visible grids. He asks me to stop by for a coffee and apology. I go. He says he should have flagged the short corridor account sooner. I say you can repair. We agree to a training for junior staff on floats and reconciliation windows. He arranges the chairs in a straight line. I prefer arcs. We settle on a narrow horseshoe because compromise isn't defeat. His tie clip has changed. It is an old-school crest now, less shiny. Imran sends me a message with a photo of the saucer where the key sat. He writes, "Next time I will keep the cake table clear." I send him a photo of the envelope I collected from the concierge. Blue, battered thing with a note. A room is only as honest as its logs. On a quiet Friday, Billy no one calls him that except his cousins. But the name suits him in my head. Billa brings me a drive with his report. He has handwritten the label, careful block letters. He says there's nothing you don't know in there. The second phone is mostly scheduling and nonsense. But it's complete. It's secure. It's recorded. I make tea for him in the office kitchen, which smells like copy paper and dish soap. I see his clean fingernails, his careful posture. He says, "You're kind." And I say, "I'm thorough." He smiles. We understand each other. Asher and I meet in Amina's office like people in a television show, where the chairs are white and the blinds are always set for thoughtful light. We speak in low volumes. He says he would like to try therapy. I make the appointment because paperwork is a love language I handle better than rings. We sign an interim agreement about finances. We sign a statement about the charity. We sign until the pen grows warm. Amina witnesses, stamps, makes 2 copies, slides them to me across the desk. I feel the coolness of the page edges like a breeze from a freezer. The copier hums like a very small airplane. On our way out, a paralegal straightens the magazines, even the ones nobody reads. I say thank you to small order everywhere now. It's my prayer. Weeks later, I host a scholarship interview panel in the community hall under a ceiling fan that rattles like an old man telling a story. The community hall smells of chalk and disinfectant. I'm in a simple linen kurta. I'm wearing the silver pen at my throat on a chain like a talisman because I decided to make competence into jewelry. The students sit across from me with faces that carry numbers and poems. One girl tells me she learned to fix a pressure cooker gasket by watching videos, and now she helps her mother on Thursdays with a small kitchen service. She says, quiet as a stamped signature, that she wants to study industrial design because she hates the way cheap handles snap. I smile and think of locks and keys and drawers, and the sweetness of systems designed not to hurt the hands that hold them. In my bag is still the place card that called me a zebra. I don't carry it for pain. I carry it as a finished loop. When I feel like someone else's script is about to assemble around me, I touch it, read the wrong name, and then write mine in my head in the font of my choosing. After the panel, Samina catches me by the gate and gives me mangoes wrapped in newspaper. Their smell a little like sunlight stored in fruit. Her kids run around our ankles like goats. We laugh. She tells me she replaced the batteries in her smoke alarm because I gave her a lecture last week. I tell her I am proud. I tell her she can always call, and she says she knows, and I believe her. Asher and I move slower now. I don't do a crime novel's ending because life dislikes genre purity. There are apologies, and there are resistances. There is gratitude for the precise way a ledger now balances when it didn't before. There are mornings when the kettle whistles and I stand with my palms on the counter and listen to how air moves through a flat when people are trying. There are nights when the wind off the sea smells like tin and sugar and the memory of a rooftop where a key caught the light. And there are 3 moments when I say the sentence that is both wound and salt and salve. Early, buy the cake. Later, in Amina's office, when Asher says he wants to be better and I answer with a line that fits into the space like a stitch. And finally, months after, at a small dinner at home where the table is quiet and we pour our own water and he thanks me before his mother. Before his sister, before his partner, he thanks me by name and sees me. And I answer, not unkindly, not victorious, simply accurate in the ledger of my life. Seems I'm not family. I am more than family. I am the person who keeps the logs. If this story helped you find your voice, share it with someone who needs the blueprint. And if you've got a justice story of your own, send it my way. I'll read every word.